like to call this special meeting of the Show Low City Council to order. Show that roll call all council members present except for Councilman Clark, who's running a little late. Just a reminder, I know a lot of you are here for the site planning of this. I'm probably going to open it up when we get to that so you don't have to come up to call the public. But if I can have the city attorney recall the public, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Any citizen desiring to speak on a matter that is within the jurisdiction of the City Council may do so at this time. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person and shall address the City Council as a whole. Issues raised shall be limited to those within the jurisdiction of the City Council. Pursuant to the open meeting laws, the City Council cannot discuss or act on items that are presented at this time. At the conclusion to the call to the public, council may ask that council may ask that the item be put on a future agenda, ask staff to review the matter, or be able to respond to criticism by the person who spoke.
Thank you. So I have no call to the public. We'll move on to the consent calendar. We'll do a consideration of award a contract for carpet and tile cleaning service, consideration of acceptance of downtown parking lot, consideration of the minutes of the Show Low Council meeting on September 16th, a special meeting, and then a regular meeting on September 16th. Entertain a motion to accept got a motion?
Make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Got a motion? Got a second by Vice Mayor. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Next item on the agenda, a new business, consideration of award of a purchase of asphalt concrete for Sierra Pines Paving Project, City of Show Low Project number 5002692. Mr. Austin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council, staff. Excuse me, I forgot my peepers. I'll do the best I can. On September 8th, 2025, a request for sealed quotes was mailed to 3 local companies requesting bids for 575 tons of asphalt concrete for the Sierra Pines Paving Project. Only one of the 3 companies contacted submitted a sealed quote. Brimhall Sand and Rock indicated that their asphalt plant was currently located in Indian Wells, Arizona, and shipping from that location would be cost prohibitive. W.W. Clyde indicated they would not be bidding and did not submit a bid. Perkins Aggregate Incorporated submitted the following bid: $63,687.25. Staff recommends awarding the purchase of the asphalt concrete for the Sierra Pines Paving Project, City of Show Low Project number 5002692 to Perkins Aggregate Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $63,687.25.
Thank you, sir. Let me ask you a question, since that's the only bid we have. Is it in line? It's not the first time you've ever done asphalt. Is that kind of in line with the normal pricing?
Yes, we're getting about $109 a ton right now.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments, motions?
Make a motion. I move toward the purchase of asphalt concrete for the Sierra Pines Paving Project, City of Show Low Project number 5002692 to Perkins Aggregates, Inc., in an amount not to exceed $63,687.25.
Got a motion, got a second by the Vice Mayor. All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you, sir. Okay, next item on the agenda is consideration of site selection for Show Low Sports Complex and Event Center. And what we'll do is we'll have staff do a summary, and then I think Mr. Ford's going to do a little bit, and then we'll open it up to the public that wants to speak. But if it's kind of the same thing, I think I know where you're all going. I think by now I should, but we'll let a few of you speak on that matter too.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Yes, I'll go ahead and go through the staff summary. Chris Ford, our architect on the project, will also speak up, kind of go through his slides, kind of highlighting the pros and cons and what we looked at for the group to see today. So at the September 16th special city council meeting, Hayden Architecton and Foreland Studios presented an update to the programming and design features of the Sports Event Center. In order to progress with the design, specific design components need to be determined. The location of the site for the project was discussed. Staff was tasked with investigating the site locations, providing the City Council with additional information. 4 sites for the Sports and Event Center were identified to be researched further. Site 1 is the original site proposed for the development. The site is located on land donated by the developer and is approximately 9 acres. Utilities are located within approximately 700 feet. Access would utilize East Wolford Road extension, and the distance from a residential property to the potential structure is approximately 95 feet. The site is zoned for the Sports and Event Center. Site 2 is located across the East Wolford from Site 1 and is located on a slightly larger parcel, approximately 13 acres. Site 2 is also a location which the developer is willing to donate the land for the project. Utilities are located at the property, situated at the north end of the parcel. Access would utilize the East Wolford Road extension, and the distance from a residential property to the potential structure is approximately 400 feet. This site is zoned for a sports and event center. Soil deposit stockpiles are located on the site and will be evaluated by geotechnical testing. Site 3 is the location suggested by residents at the meeting and sits along the east side of the South Penrod and future East Wolford Road intersection. The developer is not willing to donate the land for this location due to the potential for future commercial development along that corridor. Utilities are approximately 2,700 feet away from the site. Access would utilize South Penrod Road, and the distance from a residential parcel west of Penrod to the potential structure is approximately 1,500 feet. This site is zoned for a sports and event center. Site 4 was also suggested during the meeting, consists of approximately 48 acres of city purchased or land that city purchased earlier in the year. This parcel is city-owned, however, it is the only option that is currently not zoned for sports and facilities development. Utilities are approximately 1,500 feet from the building, and the site consists of steep topography, and access would utilize South Penrod. The distance from a residential parcel to the potential structure is approximately 500 feet. To evaluate the location of the future site, utility access, vehicular access, ability to donated land, zoning, and cohesion of existing development plans in the area were all considered. Staff recommends Site 2 for the development of Sports and Event Center based on the availability of utilities, future roadway access, zoning concerns, and master plan development guidelines. That's, once again, Chris Ford will now go over kind of the slides he had, kind of highlighting the pros and cons of the 4 sites evaluated.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm not sure. Can you see this, or you can see what's in front of me? Okay, sorry. Oh, there we go. Okay. So what we have here is a current overlay of the entire Show Low Bluff area with all 4 sites identified. Site 1 is located here, Site 2 here, both along Wolford, Site 3 across from Penrod, and then Site 4 is off to the north. Each of the currently parceled out residential portions in the Bluff area are outlined in here, and all currently developed or under construction lots are identified with this kind of dark hatch just for reference. Everything that is purple is zoned residential. Everything that is zoned brown is commercial, including Site 1, 2, and 3. And then, as Shane mentioned, Site 4 is currently zoned not for commercial development. So as we jump into the Did we not have Site 1 in here?
Looks like you got 2 in there twice.
Guess we're going to start with 2. So Site 2 is the lot that's just north of Wolford. Here you can see the perimeter is outlined at 13.7 acres. You can see there's roughly 21 foot of fall from front to back across those 13.7 acres. Our proposed location of the building would be as far east as possible to maximize separation from current and proposed residential development. Again, as Shane mentioned, that is roughly going to be 400 feet from the most adjacent lot. Again, the pros of this are that there's the most separation between lot 1 and 2 at least from residential. It will have potential multiple road access both off of Wolford and potentially a future Lewis Street extension. There are more predictable site costs with this site. It is supported by the developer, and having that consistent slope throughout the site is just going to make a more, again, an easier build and an easier predictable build as well. The cons of the site are obviously that we do have to remove the fill dirt that's located on site. We are still reviewing what the cost line item is going to be for that and whether or not we can reuse it to fill the pad. But that is something that we'll have to accommodate. And then obviously, it is a little bit further or closer to residential districts than Site 3 and 4. Jumping to Site 3, as Shane mentioned, this is roughly 17.1 acres total. However, so the pros are that it has direct access to Penrod and is not adjacent to a residential development. However, the cons are there are no existing utilities at site. It is not supported by the developer who currently owns the property. And this has almost 42 feet of fall from corner to corner. So extensive retaining walls and site costs would be needed. And then jumping to site location 4. Again, there is a 47 parcel acre identified. What we did our best to kind of locate at the flattest portion of the site, but even the flattest portion of the site has a roughly 80 foot of fall from front to back of that kind of equivalent 13 acre site. So the pro is that the city already owns it. The cons are that it is extremely steep. There's no existing utilities. It's not currently zoned for that. And in our professional opinion, there's really no clear path to develop this site for a building of this scale. And like I said, I'm not sure where Site 1 went.
I'm moving a
Okay.
slide over there now.
That would be great.
You should.
Sorry, Chris.
There's the third one on there that should, it won't be in that one. You'll need to close that out. And, oh wait, it needs to. Rachel, we need to move, can you move the third one onto the desktop? The one, 10-125, it'll have all the slides on it again. The third one?
Get your hands off the wheel.
Yeah, probably after. Because we'll bring it to council before I open it up.
Can you get your email? We emailed it.
Do we need it? Can't you just go to that one that's got them all on it and just kind of, that one, just kind of ad lib to that?
Okay, so to summarize for Site 1, this is also a roughly 13-acre parcel, so similar size to all 4 that we've been looking at. This one has almost 40-some feet of fall from corner to corner, so again, it will require extensive use of retaining walls. The location of the building based on the slope is, you can kind of see the white outline here. It's going to be relatively close to all of these planned residential lots, understanding they're not currently occupied, but they are identified for that use. I believe the distance was like 95 feet from the closest residential lot to that building. Access, again, will only be off of Wolford Road unless there is a realignment of the future Adams Street Parkway. So the pros are, again, that it is currently zoned for that. The cons are that the site costs will be relatively expensive due to the retaining walls, and it is closer to the future residential development in comparison to Site 2.
Okay, you would go ahead and go forward with the seating. Oh, wait, let's come back to the council for questions. I know I heard one down here. Councilman Whipple, you had some.
So Shane, question for you. Could you give us an idea of what the cost would be for the utilities for each of these different locations?
We did a quick rough, $100 a linear foot for some of these. And, we were talking, hundreds of thousands of dollars of additional cost to go to the further sites.
Okay.
The one, Site 2 has them on the north end of the property. They're at the north end of the property. Site 1 had them within 700 feet, which is kind of something we're planning on probably doing anyway to loop the utilities. The ones that are 2,500 feet away, those are going to be, $1 million, $2 million plus sewer water extensions to get to that parcel.
Okay, so it's going to cost significantly more to go further.
Correct.
From Site 1 and 2. Okay, thank you.
And I think that was kind of the same thing with Site 3, I believe. That's even farther, plus the developer's not wanting to donate that one.
Just to clarify, so the gray is there's currently a house there, right, on the map we're looking at?
Correct.
Okay, and then,
In this area right here, yep.
so I'm trying to judge on distance here. So Shane, you work in distances all the time, so I'm hoping you can help me. So I've got a road from my house to the main road, which is about 300 feet. So if I'm picturing this right, about 400 feet would be from here to the Deuce. Does that sound close? You're a distance.
Pretty close.
Putting you on the spot here.
Downtown city blocks, they're right at about 400 feet. So block to block is about 400 feet.
You want to give him a minute?
Yeah, can you pace that
I'll
off?
run down
for us?
there and I'll wave at you. No.
I had the opportunity last week. Justin and Shane took me to all 4 sites, and I appreciate that and able to go over each one of them and see the pros and cons as they pointed them out. So I appreciate them taking the time, giving me a really good idea of what the distances and everything, and not just kind of from a map. I could do that. So I appreciate them taking that time to meet with me last week.
Good. And I look at those properties many a times, and I think of the structure, and I get it. It's pretty big. What I would like to research, whatever site we do choose, I'd like to see about, since we have to do so much dirt work, maybe we can lower it in the dirt more or something. I'm not even sure if that's feasible, because I go out there and I picture. I drove in that subdivision and I look out there and I picture a 4-story motel or something like that out there that's probably at the maximum height with the dirt now, I would guess. I think it's 45 feet or 50 feet. So if you think about a 3-story or 4-story motel that can go in there, that could fit on that site, probably multiple if you're talking 13 acres. So I'm just, no matter what site we do decide on, I'd like to see how we can maybe put it in the ground. Does that make sense? And bring it lower? I'm not sure if that's even possible, but I'd like to see that. Any other, Vice Mayor?
Shane, do you know which site of 1 and 2 that we anticipated there would be additional parking in the future?
So Site 1, the original ask was to place this thing on a 9-acre parcel. Then there's the additional 3 acres that were also included in that Site 1. If you look at that map, that Site 1 map, and that would get us back up to where we were trying to hit with our 750 spots, 780 spots, somewhere around there. So that parcel, both those parcels, we're trying to park 750 spots on it. Does that help?
So will we have an option anywhere on Site 2 to obtain additional property for additional parking?
So Site 2 would be donated by the developer to us, the whole site. That's 13 acres, but in the agreement we have with them, if we build the event center, there's an additional 16 acres that he would donate. So potentially on Site 1, you could have, back to Site 1, you could have additional overflow parking, or also around Site 2 to the east and to the north there, you could have some additional parking and or fields that would go in there.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff? At this time, if we'll take a few minutes and open it up to the public since you're here. You guys have one speaker or a couple of you, maybe just come on up and State your name and address for the record, please. I think I've got an email from every one of you. I'm almost positive.
If you had from me. Hi, Ravon Bowens, I live at 560 South Creekside Road in Shoalo Bluff, and I did send a letter to the mayor and an input to the White Mountain Independent. I would just like to highlight the article unfortunately didn't make it into the printed White Mountain Independent. It only made it into the electronic version, so I'm afraid that a lot of people missed that. For what we just talked about, before I start, who in this room would like Site 3? Please raise your hand. Okay, so we already know that Site 3, which was not offered up in the beginning, is now the logical place to put this, across the road at Penrod. I'm also disturbed by the thought that our developer and our developer's representative, the engineer for the Wolford Bridge crossing, are benefiting each other. The developer is offering up a donation, but a tax value of $71,000. That's the property value of site number 2. He's offering up site number 1 a value of $45,000. He's not offering up site 3. It's only worth $20,000, $500 for him to donate that. I understand all of the implications of where electricity happens to be, where it doesn't happen to be. But in any case, I think Site 4 is obviously not even under consideration. I'm not sure why it was offered. But that is my feeling, that these 2 sites, 1 and 2, help our developer. They also help his representative, the engineer that wants that road across Shoalo Creek. They're feeding each other, and that bothers me that that's not being acknowledged today. I just wanted to do some highlights from the article that didn't make it into the printed version. We aren't against the project, but we want the city to pick a site that won't have traffic, light, alcohol sales in against our neighborhood. You could see how close both of those Site 1s and 2 are to current homes and possible homes in the Adams Park direction. I do like the idea that we quoted in the article that the mayor is the only one who said, I've talked to a lot of people with the last couple of days, we need to look at other options, and added that the architect keeps pushing back and wanting a decision that very night. The Wolford Road over Shoalo Creek, we discussed 2 years ago. I came here to talk about that, the idea of crossing a bluff when we already crossed the creek at the dam and very close to Scott Ranch Road where Shoalo owns property. That's the place to cross the creek. We're also concerned about environmental impact studies that have been done, and we are supposed to be a dark sky neighborhood. This will cancel that out unless we get it as far away as possible. Also, I wrote to the mayor that we got very short notice about this, and we were actually told at the meeting at the city hall 2 weeks ago, we had to do this quickly. We're going to lose the money if we don't act quickly. I assume that means today, the beginning of the fiscal year. When we asked why they chose spot 2 and 3, it was said that's what the developer wants. That's what the engineer wants. It doesn't say anything about taking care of our residents that already live in Shoalo. Not what the developer wants, who we think lives in California, and not what the engineer wants, who's been pushing this road for the last 20 years. It'll lessen all sorts of things. We're also concerned about loading zones for all the kids, all the buses, and where the parking's going to be. If you do this, I think the costs are going to be upon the city council and us for privacy walls, because you're so close to our neighborhood. You're going to have gates to keep them out of Shoalo Bluff neighborhood. Those are added costs that I don't hear being mentioned. The other thing is, once again, we are not against the project at all, but we were included. We don't have any say about what happens in Shoalo Bluff project. We have been asked for representation and been denied it by our developer and his representative, the engineer. The cost to maintain is certainly going to be a problem. And anyway, what we believe is that it's not just to our benefit to get this out of our neighborhood, it's to Shoalo's benefit and the cost benefit. I understand that there's already all those utilities down in Adams Park, the third part, and in Shoalo Bluff too. Who knows if they're any good anymore? I think it's worth the cost to get it across the road and take it out of a residential neighborhood and show that you support the residents, not the developer and the engineer. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Shane, do you want to make any comments? I mean, I can tell you, anybody else want to, go ahead.
My name is Beverly Hammer, and I live at 620 South Creekside Drive. Another reason why I think option 3 is the best one is it does border Penrod Road. And I don't know why you would want to spend $40 to $60 million and have it behind other commercial property. Options 1 and 2, it's set back, it's not on Penrod Road. And that's potential commercial building there. So I don't know if they're going to put hotels, grocery store, apartments. But why would you want a sports center that's going to cost this much money and set it not on the main road, back behind other commercial property? And another thing to consider, there is a Christian school supposedly going to be built in Show Low Bluff. That was also donated by the developer to the Christian school. I'm not sure how close that property line is to option 2. And I know alcohol sales are a big part of the revenue income that you're hoping for. And so I don't think those two things go together well at all. And I won't repeat anything that was said before. So that was all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Mayor, City Council. My name's Tim Flanagan. I live at 1160 Lorenzo Sitgraves. We just moved in there a year and a half ago, and our house has like an add-on of an extended picture window, so it's really beautiful view that'll look straight at, well, this event center once it goes in. I also have concerns about a Christian school and a sale of alcohol. It just doesn't seem to mix to me. And then also on parcel number 3, if it's on the other side of Penrod, I understand the developer doesn't want to donate that, but look at the Cardinal Stadium. Once that went in, look at all the development that went around it. It'll draw development. So to say that that would out him for future development, that's not really a true statement, in my opinion. I think there'll be exponential growth across the road. So anyway, that's my hope. Option 3, please. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, thank you, Council. My name's Doug Evenson. I live right across the street from Tim. And when everybody moves in this neighborhood, nobody knows about Wolford going in. Nobody knows about the commercial up there, the zoning. So when you buy, it's a shot in the dark, I guess. But anyway, my main concern is going to be the traffic through our neighborhood. And those streets are not made for two-way traffic. So I just wanted to bring the traffic situation up. That needs to be addressed also.
Thank you.
And maybe you guys can talk to Daniel about putting gates at Wolford so they can't come in that way. I've tried to bring that up and it goes nowhere, so.
Appreciate it. Anybody else? I'll turn it back to the council for any comments. I want to say a couple of things. First of all, Wolford Road, I've been sitting up here just in this council since 2010, and that conversation for Wolford Roads, we've talked about it since then. When they put in the motel right there, Wolford Road's always been a dead end for future. Wolford Road is always going to go across. With this development or without this development, Wolford Road's going across. The developer, Site 3, obviously, and it was me that stalled this, and I wanted to do research before we picked a site. I I get it now. Site 3, he's not even going to donate to it. So for us to put it there, we'd have to buy it, and then it's going to be millions to get utilities over there. So Site 3 to us, or to me, didn't make any sense, but I wanted to research all 4 of them. Site 4, because we owned it, I wanted somebody to tell me why we couldn't. I think they did that. We'd have to go through the whole process. And the drop-off was the most, I think you said 80 feet drop-off. I think that was the most dirt work we would have to do. So then it brought us back to Site 1 and Site 2. And I think, whichever one we go, like I said a little bit ago, I think I want to lower this thing. I get the traffic. I totally do. We're having that discussion now. But we can't even move forward on designing a building until we get a site picked. So for the developer to not contact y'all on the property that you bought is not the city's fault at all. I know you just said you didn't know what was around you. Man, I'll tell you what, if I went somewhere in Show Low, and I live on a couple acres, it's hard to find anymore, but I want to know what's around me. Before I bought the property that I live in, I wanted to make sure what was around me. So I checked, and it was residential. And then immediately a guy put a house there. But anyway, so the developer, it seems like that we're getting blamed for something that the developer should have contacted y'all on and said, hey, by the way, he could put, for the zoning, we can go over numerous projects can be put on 1 and 2 that I think would personally be a bigger impact. Maybe not. I can't see the future. As far as looking out your window, we're hoping this thing isn't an eyesore. That's my dream. I want it to be wherever we decide to put it. I'd like to see it. I've made that comment earlier about trying to get it lower to the ground, so it's not such an impact. Scott Ranch Road, I know that's been brought up a few times. That's another road is going through someday. We're working on that. And if you were here during the Rodeo Chetiska, even before that, I can tell you back in the late 70s when our bridge flooded, hello? Oh, there we are. When our bridge flooded downtown, I was probably 16, I think 17, and where I worked was right across that flooded area we couldn't get to. So I looked at that as a kid as a blessing because I couldn't go to work. But in today's world, when we had the Rodeo Chetiska fire, we have not a lot of exits out of this community. And I've testified in front of Congress many a times about Wolford Road. That's an emergency exit I look at if we have to evacuate out of town. Scott Ranch Road is $26 million, I think, and Wolford Road's 6 or 7. But I've always looked at Wolford Road and Scott Ranch Road as emergency exits out of our community. Wolford Road has always been, and I apologize again for the developer, Wolford Road has always gone to go through. If you ever look at that development, turn down that road, there's a dead end thing there. It's always going to go across the bridge or the creek right there. We need it to go across. Whether this development's there or not, it has to go through. We really, really do need it. And I agree. We look at this project that it took us years to get where we are today. It absolutely did. And picking a site and putting it somewhere that it's not an eyesore, we don't want it to be an eyesore. I guarantee you, we've gone over the design factor of this building, which we're still going to be going through probably for a year or so. But we want it to be a low impact as you guys, even when people driving through the community. We want it to somebody look at that and go, wow, that's pretty cool. Not go, what a pain. I hate that idea. We're as concerned as you guys are. We really are. And no matter what site we pick, it's going to impact somebody, but we got to think of this whole community. And believe it or not, the people in this community, everybody in this community, we know we need this. Where we put it, we have a developer that's donating property we feel it works. Whether we got to do something with Penrod in the future, if he would have donated Site 3, I think feasibility for utilities, it wasn't going to work either because it would cost us so much. I think we were into the millions to get utilities over there and then the dirt work. So I know, we're doing the best we can up here to try to pick a site that works for everybody. We really are. Vice Mayor?
Well, I have to say that when this development went in years and years ago, it was a requirement of the developer that he provide the easement and agree to partner on that roadway on Wolford Road. And the bridge was also a requirement of that development. So I apologize if you weren't aware of that when you purchased your property. I apologize for that. But that was a requirement of the developer when that was, before any house even went in there. That was required of them.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I just say something?
Yeah.
So why that's important, the Wolford Road and the bridge there, I think was alluded to a little bit by the mayor, but it's very important to understand that the crossing on Highway 60, the bridge that we have now, 260 and Highway 60 there, that is not designed as a 100-year flood event. And that is flooded over that bridge and that road where Shoalo was divided basically when that flooded. So the idea is that, as Connie and Vice Mayor indicated, is that we would put in this Wolford Road bridge that would be designed for a 100-year flood event. But it also would provide emergency access. If you look at the Shoalo Bluff right now, you basically have one way in, one way out. If there was a catastrophic fire or if there's a flood or something, you guys are kind of pinned down. This Wolford Road was designed to allow for emergency access to come out different ways during a fire or a flood event. And that's why it's been designated as NACOG's #1 project in the region, because of the emergency benefit that it provides to the community, as well as better ingress and egress in our community. And the other thing that I bring up to the Shoalo Bluff residents is that when you have an emergency up there, if an ambulance has to come up to your community, they have to drive clear around now to get to the hospital. With Wolford Road, you would be able to cut right through and get to the hospital. So there's a lot of reasons why that road is important. It's been on our general plan for years. It's been talked about for years, and as well as the event center has been talked about for years. Now, I don't know if it's really the developer's responsibility to let you guys know about that. I guess he could have let you know about that in HOA meetings and different things, but it's really your real estate agent and the person you buy the house from that should be telling you what's going in around you and that you should know about that. As we talk about the event center and how we want to make it a benefit to the community, we want it to be a place that you guys are proud of, that you guys will use. When it's in the wintertime and it's cold outside and you want to go walk around the track, you can walk right over to the event center and go inside and walk around the track. You can use this as a community recreation place. So we want it to be, as the mayor indicated, a place that everybody can use, everybody's proud of. It's not an eyesore in the community, and we're going to do our best to do that.
Mayor.
Thank you.
Not to beat a horse, but as the mayor mentioned, we had flooding over the bridge down on 6260 in the late 70s. And actually in 1979, that bridge was overran by water. And my uncle was the water director at that time, and he drowned inspecting the lines underneath that bridge because of that flooding that we had down there at that time. So it's a very important aspect to our downtown community too.
Anybody else? Questions, comments? We're done, sorry. We're not going to open it back up. And you know what? We were very courteous with y'all and let you talk. And then when we're talking, you guys are talking. So I'd appreciate if you kind of let us kind of hash this out. There was a lot of talking going on when the city manager was talking. We let you all talk. Now we'll turn it back to the council.
I make comment. I too remember the flood. I wasn't very old, but I do remember the flood, and it was a very traumatic time in our community. And having these accesses to, in case of fire or flooding, is crucial. And so those projects have always been talked about as long as I remember. And like I said, I know that we need them. I know we need access to the hospital. I know that we need, if there's fire or anything like that, we need to be able to get out of town. And we got a lot more people that live in town than we used to. So it's really important. And like I said, I'm sorry you didn't know, but it's always been on the plans. We've always talked about it. And it's always been something as growing up here, we always knew we needed. And we're just hopefully able to get to this next point where we have these bridges here soon.
Yeah, is there any other comments? Shane, you got anything else? You're probably good. Okay.
I move to select Site 2 from the developer for Sholo Sports and Event Center project. Did I read that right?
Got a motion, I need a second. Got a second by Councilman Judd. All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Next item on the agenda is consideration of seating configuration for the Sholo Sports and Event Center. Mr. Hemsaw.
All right, Mayor and Council, also at this September 16th meeting, during the meeting, seating for the facility was determined to be approximately 4,500 seats. The design team did not have a budgetary numbers for savings if a reduction in seating was requested. Understanding that a reduction in seating also affects parking, restroom quantity, and the building dimensions. Staff worked with the design team to provide additional seating layouts for the facility. The goal was to minimize the telescopic seating to reduce the height of the structure and also save on the cost of the fixed seating. Multiple seating arrangements are presented for discussion as we move forward with the design. All proposed options assume additional 200 seats on the upper walking path of the facility. Alternate 1 includes telescopic seating in all 3 directions at approximately 2,800 seats with an additional 1,500 floor seats. Alternative 2 includes telescopic seating from 2 directions at approximately 3,000 seats with an additional 1,000 floor seats. Alternate 3, telescopic seating from 1 direction at approximately 1,000 seats with an additional 2,200 floor seats. And alternate 4 includes, alternate 4? Seats, 2,000 seats. Alternate 5 includes no telescopic seating at all with 2,500 floor seats. The reduction of the seats with each configuration results in approximate savings shown on each layout, ranging from no cost savings in alternate 1 to about $3.1 million savings in alternate 5. Staff recommends the alternate 1 seating configuration to achieve the city's council's desire to include 4,500 seat capacity in the Sports and Event Center. And once again, Chris is here to go through kind of the seating layouts with you and talk pros and cons.
So Chris, before you get started, so my understanding is all 3 of them are 4,500, right? Is that correct? Is that what you said or no? No. Okay.
No. Yeah, so thank you, Council and Mayor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through these briefly, and then I want to circle back to more of a couple discussion points. Actually, I'm going to start with that first. So we understand, obviously, at the last meeting, 4,500 was voted on, approved, and our reading of that decision was based mainly in order to offset kind of what the current high school provides to be bigger than that, provide more, which makes sense to us, right? If that's the direction that the city wants to go, we understand. But there's a big difference between a 4,500 seat graduation and a 4,500 seat concert. And so we just want to make sure that we have a good understanding of the intended use of these seats. And then we want to go through the numbers again, just because we do have the financial backup this time. So the first piece, again, is the understanding of the use of those seats, and that mainly affects the food and beverage piece. Obviously, if we have 4,500 seats, we have X number of parking regardless of how they're used. Bathroom, it doesn't impact those, but it does impact how much food and beverage point of sales we need, which again, as we go through these kind of reductions in seat numbers, it almost could lead to 2,000 square feet of concession space based on point of sales. So I think having an understanding of the intent of the seats is just as important as the actual number. So in alternate number 1, in this scheme, and again, as Shane mentioned, this does not include any seats that would be upstairs on the track, which would just be loose seats that kind of ring around the track. This one shows 4,300 seats, of which 2,800 are telescopic. In this scheme, in all the schemes, we basically use 780 parking spaces as our base of design because that is what we fit in the original scheme, which for alternate 1 means we're deficient basically 295 spaces. So we'd be looking for that alternate offsite parking to make up that. This one again requires that 4,300 square foot of food and beverage and kind of all of the different elements here. And again, this is basically what we have in our bid to date. Alternate 2 drops it down to 4,000 seats, 3,000 of which are telescopic. The rest are floor seats. Again, this is still deficient in parking, but not by as many, only 220. This has a rough reduction of 500 square feet of food and beverage, so down to 4,000. And again, this is only a cost savings of roughly 107,000. Next is a reduction down to 3,500 seats, of which 1,000 of them are telescopic. So you can see on this one, the telescoping are only in the back and the rest are all floor seating. In this scheme, we are only going to be deficient 95 parking spaces. The food and beverage drops down to 3,500 square feet, and it's a cost reduction of roughly 1.55 million. Alternate 4 is a reduction to 3,000 seats, still requiring 1,000 telescopic seats in the back. We are still deficient on, we're at 700 parking spaces, so we're not deficient on any. That's a typo, my apologies. So we are net positive on the parking with this scheme. 3,000 square foot of food and beverage and a reduction in 1.9 million. And then finally, again, just for a point of reference, this shows 2,500 only floor seats, which has a 625 parking spaces. The 2,500 or the 3,000 square foot of food and beverage, which is basically our bare minimum for the project to service the meeting room. So that's kind of our break-even point. That is a cost reduction of 3.1 million.
Could you imagine the person that's going to put an event on and have to put those seats up? I'm just saying. The laziest guy in the shop's going to find the easiest way of doing things, but man, that looks like a lot of work.
Yeah, so just real quick, going back to the base scheme, which is this is essentially the 4,500 we talked about with the seats up top. Again, we were able to massage it a little bit to get the number of telescopic seatings removed, which again allows us basically to bring the building down 4 feet from what it was before. And just the price per seat is reduced, which is about a $250,000 savings. Again, that's roughly in budget, right? So we're calling it cost neutral, but that's basically how we got to this scheme right here. This does have the retractable seats on all 3 sides, and the rest is maintained on floor seats in the middle.
Can you go to 2 again? Yeah. Okay. They get worse as far as I look at something like that, because now I'm looking at not just events but sporting events. If you go to 3, that's even worse. Only in the back. So you have, okay.
And so, speaking of sports, the way that, again, in scheme 1, the way a championship event would lay out is obviously the floor seats would be replaced by the court. Again, but 2,800 telescopic seatings for a championship game is probably not necessary. Again, it's probably more than is needed per SFC's recommendations. In alternate 2, again, it would be in the middle there where the floor seats are. Again, this has 3,000 telescopic seating, which is more than is required for the championship condition. And then as we go, again, this one would be basically all the championship seating would be floor seats outside of the courts that we're not seeing here. So just for reference.
Can you go back to one more time? I want to look at that bottom. So when you were here last time compared to this one right in front of us, you did lower the building by 4 feet. Is that what you said?
Correct. Basically, in this scheme, what we did is we pushed the stage back, I believe, 15 feet. Don't quote me on that, but roughly 15 feet, which allowed us enough floor seats to drop our telescopic number down, which then brought the building height down and the actual number of telescoping seats needed. This is about as far as we can push the stage to the plan left based on sight lines. Like, we can't go any further to get a better benefit, which is consistent through all the schemes. So that's basically how we were able to get that reduction. And again, we're calling that our base bid, even though it is technically a reduction from the original, what we talked about before.
I think that was my biggest concern, is going higher, because we wanted the 4,500, like Councilman Whipple said.
Yeah, and I would say that this reduction in height the 4 feet is as much height reduction as we can get while still doing telescopic. So this is as pushed down as we're going to get with this scheme right here.
And now we just push it down in the dirt.
We will do our best, yes, sir.
Anybody else have any comments? I like 1 out of all of them because you brought it down lower. So I know sitting in the meeting yesterday on Zoom, we talked about, I think the city manager came up with a great comment. We want to try to keep this below the 45.
Yep.
and maybe with some dirt moving, since we got to move dirt anyway, maybe a retaining wall on one side of this building. But I love how you refigured this to get the 4,500 and bring the building down lower, so.
I like site, or the number one option also.
Okay. Appreciate it. Is that all you had?
So I just, again, I don't know, and again, it's not in the slides, but just the use of the seats. I don't know if the council could speak to that. Just again, how much we want to emphasize concerts for food concessions versus is this really just for graduation and community types events?
Well, if we had one of these, 20 years ago, we could tell you that.
Yes.
So you're looking for an answer we can't give you. Of course, we want events in there. Graduation's pretty important, but I see other events that are pretty big up here that are going to utilize this too, not just graduation. But I think about NPC. They graduate, and maybe they bring everybody from all their colleges to here and graduate. So, we want to see it be used a lot. But how we can tell you a crystal ball, I like alternate one. I think the seating is perfect. I like the idea of the championship game in the middle. I don't know. I like one the best. How we're going to use it, man, thanks, Chris. Appreciate it. How do you want us to use it? We don't know.
Hopefully we have concerts, right? Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyways, anybody else have any comments or concerns or emotions? I think the first one we just had about the site probably made him feel a little bit better already. So moving forward. Councilman Adams, did you make a motion? Oh, you already did one. You don't want to do them both, do you? Not really. Ready? Go ahead.
I make a motion for option one, for the seat configuration. Is that good enough?
Good enough for me. I'll second the motion. All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Chris, thank you again for coming up here. We appreciate it. We wish we could have solved this last time, but you can see we have some concerns with our citizens, which we all got to let them voice those opinions. So we appreciate you coming up here and presenting that to us. Now you guys got to go to work, right? All right. If there's no more business before this council, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you, guys.